Hey there, Kaylin here, and welcome to another video in the Too Many Cards series that Emily Leapart and I have created. Today we're using stamps from Right at Home. We're using the Snuggly Squirrel stamp set, the Forest Findings stamp set, and the Critter Chat stamp set. And we're also using the coordinating dies for Snuggly Squirrel and Forest Findings. So I'm first going to be stamping down the squirrel images from the Snuggly Squirrel set. And this is a builder stamp set or a layering stamp set, which is really nice. That way you can layer up the detail, and she has lots of nice textures and elements in here that really bring this stamp to life. So first I used some soft sand ink from Hero Arts to stamp the squirrel's body. And then I'm going to align that tail so that I make sure I get it nice and flush up against the body, and stamp that down using Classic Craft ink from Paper Tray Ink. Then, like I said, she includes a little bit of texture for that tail. So I'm just taking some walnut stain distress ink and stamping that texture down on there in the darker color. That way you can see it. So I'm going to stamp the body of the squirrel down in a lighter color. And I'm going to use fine linen ink from Paper Tray Ink. And I did that twice just to get a nice saturated color there. Now I'm going to stamp the ears, and I'm going to do that in the same soft sand ink that I stamped the main body of the squirrel. For the insides of the ears, I'm using Sweet 16 ink from Catherine Pooler just to give them a little pink element and bring some color to his ears. And then I'm going to do the same thing with these little cheek stamps. Then for his nose and mouth area, I'm going to use the same fine linen ink that I did for his belly area and just stamp that down once to get a nice light color. Then using the walnut stain ink again, I'm going to stamp down his facial features. This die perfectly cuts out the squirrel, and it also cuts out his little hands so that they can open up like flaps, and you can stick other stamped elements inside of them, which I absolutely love. I think that's such a fun touch, and you'll see later how I use that. There's also a scarf stamp included in this set, and it's another two-parter, so you have two sets of stripes. That way you can do different colored stripes, which I absolutely love. So first just doing kind of a mid-tone mint green, and then you can see me aligning the second piece of that striped scarf, and I'm using Soft Pool to stamp that. Now I'm moving on to some of the other accessories and pieces that come with this stamp set. So I die cut out the apple shape first, just because you have to be able to position the stem and leaf in the right spot. So I originally stamped it going the wrong direction and then realized I couldn't die cut it out. So I thought it'd be easier just to die cut this out first and then stamp it. So now you can see how that apple fits perfectly in the squirrel's little hands, and then how the scarf's gonna go over top. Now moving on to the Forest Findings stamp set, I'm stamping the main image, which is this tree stump, and I used a couple different shades of brown for this just so that I could get the perfect shade that I wanted. And then I'm going to stamp the top of it in a lighter shade. That way it offers some nice contrast, and that way when my squirrel is sitting on top, they don't blend too much together. So as with the other stamps, she also designed some texture stamps to go over top of the main images. So just doing that wood green stamp on the top of the stump, and then there's another one for the side. I then die cut out this stump, and then realized that there were some other stamps that go along with it, which is kind of fun. So there are these little leaves, and I just stamped those on after I die cut it out using some green tea ink from Catherine Pooler. Now I'm going to stamp the pumpkin image from this stamp set, which is another two-parter. So I did stamp the first part in Calypso Coral from Stamp It Up, and then stamped the second part using a lighter orange from Hero Arts. Then I just finished off the pumpkin by stamping the stem in walnut stain ink. Now I'm going to stamp a couple of the mushroom images using various colors of blue and green. And each of these stamps has a couple different parts to it, like I said. So I'm stamping the main top part of the mushroom in blue and then adding in the stripes in green. For the taller mushroom, I'm going to use some reds and oranges, so stamping the stem in orange, and then going to do the top part, which is kind of a nice scallop stripe, so I'm going to do that in red royal ink, and then come back with the same orange I used for the stem and stamp that in between. The mushrooms also have some little speckly details, so just stamping over both stems with their coordinating stamps in walnut stain ink. Now I'm going to glue the scarf down to the squirrel and just kind of see all of the pieces die cut out and kind of figure out how I'm going to arrange them on my card front. I decided to do some ink blending on my card base, and I'm using the Neenah Solar White cardstock, which is really perfect for ink blending. So I'm just using some Aqua Mist ink from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm just going to use some of the paper that comes along with the MISTI as kind of some scratch paper. That way I stamp the ink blender initially on that to get some of the ink off of there. That way it doesn't stamp kind of a perfect circle on the card base. So I use that as my scrap paper and then just do some ink blending, which I've sped up so it doesn't take too long, but this can be a little bit of a process just to get it nice and blended. So I'm just doing a little bit of a gradient on the top from this nice Aqua Mist color, and then I'm just going to let it fade to white. Now that that's done, I'm just going to glue down some of the elements on my card. So first gluing down the stump, pumpkin, and the mushrooms, and I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi Glue to do that. And later on, I'm going to adhere the squirrel using some foam tape. I love this Critter Chat sentiment set. There are tons of gorgeous sentiments in here, and a lot of them coordinate with some other Write at Home stamp sets that feature an owl. So for this one, though, I just wanted to do the Wishing You a Harvest of Happiness stamp. I thought it really went well with this card and all of the little fall elements that are with it. So just adhering my squirrel down with some foam tape, and that's going to finish off the card. I really hope you enjoyed this, and be sure to check out Emily's video as well to see how she used these stamps and dies to create her own project. And make sure to leave a comment below for your chance to win a $20 gift certificate to the Write at Home store. Thanks so much for watching.